In this edition of Commissioner's Corner with 6th Ward Commissioner Jake Abel, we'll be covering several items. The results of the recent election, the First Baptist Cemetery cleanup project that is gaining some great deal of exposure, improvements of one of the important township parks, an update on the West Wayne project, and the resurfacing of certain roads in Radnor Township, which will be welcome news, I'm sure, to a number of residents. Jake, how are you?
I'm well.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and nice being in the new studio.
Yeah, isn't it great? They've done a great job.
Yeah,
it's
it looks
nice
really
to be
great.
back after the long hiatus. Jake, the May 18th election was, I guess, predictably a low turnout generally, but the Democrats seemed to do a better job of getting the vote out. What's your analysis of the election and the election results, and what does it mean for your re-election bid?
Well, a primary is tough to analyze because you're running unopposed, your opponent's running unopposed. So I mean, when you just look at bare numbers, 25% turnout, which is roughly the estimate you would expect in an off-year election. Yes. But I'm optimistic about, and I'm encouraged by what I saw from my supporters. We had 160% higher turnout than I did 4 years ago. There were 40 write-ins, so that 40 registered Democrats came out and actually took the time to write my name in. And so those are things to build on over these next 5 months as we approach the November 2nd election.
Tell me, you've got your work cut out for you, I'm sure. It's going to be a tough election.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a registration deficit in the ward, but that's where, I always say, a campaign is about values and vision. I'm talking about values that I think are great for the community, everyone in the community. My opponent's talking about, values that are great for her party. Mm-hmm. So, it's really what do the voters want? Do they want somebody who's out there working for everybody, or somebody who's going to work for half the residents?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you can comment on this one, but the school board election. How did you read that? The results there, and what chance do the Republican candidates have?
Well, again, primaries are tough to analyze, but just looking at the numbers, it looks like the community is sending a message where all 8 candidates were within, I think, 300 votes of one another. So, first place to 8th place, there's a 300 vote difference, which is easily made up with independent voters and strong campaigning over the next 5 months. Yeah,
and some really important issues because of what's going on in schools generally, nationally.
Sure.
And I don't know what the situation is in Radnor. I don't know with regard to some of the incendiary issues we keep hearing about and reading about, like critical race theory and the extent to which that has been inculcated in Radnor's curriculum. I just don't know. I hope not, but I just don't know.
Well, I'll leave that for the school board candidates to discuss.
I'll be interviewing them as well, I'm sure, in the upcoming months. Until you brought it to our attention, I'd never heard of the First Baptist Cemetery. So tell us about that.
So we have a cemetery on West Wayne Avenue, right across from the Italian American Club in Ward 6. And as long as I've lived here, it's been neglected. I often go in there. It's a nice little stroll for me to clear my mind, and there's a lot of history there. So, over the last 4 years, I've had discussions with the township about the property. Nobody's ever been able to tell me who owns it, and so I've decided to start taking some action because look, we've got veterans who've served as far back as the Civil War that are buried there.
Really?
Yeah, I believe just at the surface level, we have a responsibility as residents to show respect to those who served. But to everyone who's buried there, they have family members who I'm sure come to visit, and we should clear the vines. We should clear the trees that are a safety issue.
But who owns it? Someone must own the ground.
So that's a good question, and that's what. So when I brought this up a month ago at a board meeting, we've tasked the solicitor to do some of that research to figure out who is the rightful owner of the property, and if we can identify that, have them start maintaining it. It's my understanding that there is no owner who's overseeing the property, which then the question is going to become, do we as a township take it over?
Yes.
And that's a discussion we're going to have as a board. But in my opinion, I think we're heading in that direction.
Obviously, there are no tax records on it because the property isn't taxable, right?
I mean, there are records, but again, it's tracking down who is the last owner on the deed.
Yes.
And does that church exist? If it does exist, are they able to maintain the property?
Yeah.
Because right now the township, and they're doing a great job cutting the grass, but there's so much more that needs to be done there, just to bring it up to a standard that we expect in Radnor Township.
Has the cemetery been vandalized at all over the years?
It hasn't been vandalized.
As some have been in years past.
It's been neglected, and what I'll say is, if you walk through there, you'll see trash cans have been thrown over fences. There is litter throughout. The fence is broken, and I'm not asking for the township to take on like a financial responsibility or proposing any projects there. I'm just asking that we have the authority to go in there and to do volunteer projects. And the two that I've proposed is, one is a cleanup day. And I've already had a number of residents reach out, either offering to help clean up or to provide lunch for the volunteers. A second project would be more of a historical research project. And again, spoken to some of the universities, veteran organizations, and there's some organizations that have dealt with neglected cemeteries that are willing to come in, and hopefully we can do some research on who's buried there. Maybe make up new plaques, so when people come like me and walk through, they're able to understand who's there and what they've done.
That's great. It's a very interesting project. Very interesting project. I know during all of your time on the board, you have been a proponent of parks, public spaces in the township. What's the latest project? Improvements are being made in at least one of the parks.
So the next park, I think, on the township list, or one of the next parks, is going to be Odoricio Park, which is also on West Wayne Avenue. And over the last 4 years, while I've served, we have 2 pockets of money that have been set aside for Odoricio Park. We have $125,000, which was part of the Submersion development project. And then as part of the 2019 bond, we included money to resurface the basketball courts. So that money's already set aside and ready to go. And it's my thought that we shouldn't wait until we take out another bond to do the whole park. We have this money set aside now. Let's redo what we can do and improve those areas. So I'm holding a town hall meeting on June 3rd. Before I do any projects, I want to make sure that I understand what the residents and what the neighbors who use that park, what their vision is, and then work with them to make sure that we can create that vision.
Where is it located?
So it's West Wayne Avenue, right across from the Friends of Radnor Trail.
Okay, yep. It's funny, I never noticed it before.
Well, it
kind of sits back.
So it's part of the old quarry, and it sits under, so it's almost like a bowl, and it's a great viewing if you're a baseball fan. Legion baseball's played there, and you can stand up and sit up top, have lunch, and watch a great watch a great baseball game. In the wintertime, it becomes the hills for the sledders.
Oh, yeah. In most of your recent emails, West Wayne Preserve has been a recurring theme. Why and what's going on?
So West Wayne Preserve will be it's the stormwater project we've proposed for that area. That's the corner of Conestoga and South Devon. Yeah. And it just needs to be regraded. Some of the trees are going to have to be removed to do this project, but we get storms now, and it's not just the heavy storms. It's the minor storms where you'll see water coming out of the preserve and coming down South Devon, which has done damage to neighbor property. So the idea there is we're close. We have to get DEP approval, and that's, I think, the last hurdle before we can bring it to the board. I say last hurdle, but that could take months. We've been dealing with DEP now for several months on this issue, and hopefully we're getting close to the end.
COVID must have slowed things down.
Yeah, I think it did, but just coming out there and it's a bureaucracy, and we're going through the red tape. but I'm persistent and I'm patient, and I'm confident that we're going to get there.
Everybody's got their favorite potholes and bumps in the road. I know I've got mine. Mine are mostly on Darby Paoli Road and Church Road.
Yep.
Darby Paoli Road is really bad. Some sections of it are hazardous, particularly the section down near Skunk Hollow. You hit one of those potholes and you're in trouble if you're going any decent speed. What can be done? When can it be done? A number of residents have been inquiring about it.
Well, Darby Paoli Road, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to help out on too much. It's a state road. PennDOT will address that road. I can work with the township and maybe we can make a call and see if that could be added to the list. For the other roads in Ward 6, we have this issue every year. We come out of the winter months, the weather warms, and now we've got some potholes created,
right.
which has been complicated with all the work that we've had on our roads. So we've had a lot of aqua work and pico work.
Yes.
So these utility companies have done work in South Devon and Morris Road, Clover Road.
And the patchwork has been horrendous.
So the resurfacing program happens every fall, and hopefully a lot of those roads will be included on this next round of resurfacing, where you'll have some new utilities, but you also have a new resurfaced road to drive on.
Mm-hmm. But Jake, how much influence might the township have in requesting the state to pay particular attention to Darby Paoli Road and the section I'm referring to? Because it really is bad.
Well, I don't know what.
Do they have folks who come out and survey?
Yeah, so they'll have groups that take care of certain sections of the state. So we'll contact that group that addresses the Radnor area.
Right.
And hopefully they can come out and agree that it's in need of work.
Okay, but it sounds like an arduous process.
Nothing's ever easy.
Therefore, the potholes are going to be there for a long time.
Nothing's ever easy, but let me give you this example. We talk about nuisance wires, and we've talked about this for 4 years.
Yes.
So for 4 years, I've said we need to get rid of these wires that are just hanging. We need to get rid of these double poles that are just sitting there.
Yes.
And one, they look bad. 2, they're dangerous, and 3, they send the wrong message to kids.
Yeah.
4 years later, I can say that we have 3 utility poles that have been cleared of the wires, and one double pole's been removed. 2 double poles are on the schedule to be removed.
Including the one on Darby Paoli Road near the Willows?
No.
It's been leaning like that for as long as I can remember.
No, but I'll add it to the list. And so
I don't know how it stays up there.
So, and here's the thing: you have to build these relationships, and so the township. I've worked with the township, and these utility companies, and everybody is now at the table where we're having these conversations about what's the next pole that we can look at.
You live in hope. Speaking of hope, Microcells. What's the latest on Microcells in the township? I know that they have a study underway.
Yep.
From a legal standpoint.
And we're still waiting. I have not seen that report. We're waiting to receive that report, which we should have, I would hope, by the end of June. Mm-hmm. It was a 90-day. We gave 90 days, and I think that 90 days expires sometime in June. So my hope is that we have that report. We can take a look at it. We understand what our authorities are, and what and what we're allowed to do, and then where the utility companies, what they're allowed to do, and that should hopefully, start discussions with neighborhoods that are willing to look at microcells.
But the jurisdictional issues have already been determined. They're determined by the law. Right?
Well,
so there's not much Radnor can do, as long as the petitioners are in compliance with the regulations, the rules, etc.
There are rules and regulations. I think it's such a new technology that not everybody understands where that line is drawn. Right. And so this report is going to help everyone understand the environment that we're playing in. Okay.
Well, it's badly needed, as you know. The Willows, the community I live in, and that whole section, we have very, very poor reception.
Well, let me just be clear that I'm not advocating for microcells. I'm not opposed to microcells.
Yes.
I will work with any neighborhood association, including yours, that would like to explore, just so you guys have all the information you need to make an informed decision.
And it is important to spend time because, as you know better than I, because you've been following it, the technology is just changing so rapidly for the better,
Yep.
for the most part. And they're scaling down, getting all of this technology into smaller boxes, which from aesthetically makes it more palatable for communities to accept in their neighborhoods.
But I also understand that some communities don't want them for specific reasons. But what I do like about your neighborhood in particular is that you guys have been willing to offer that first pole to help provide some
with the willows
to help provide emergency communications.
Well, it will go on, I'm sure, for a very long time, regrettably. Jake, as always, good to be with you. My guest today has been Jake Abel, who is 6th Ward Commissioner. And this has been Commissioner's Corner. Until next time, take very good care of yourselves.